Hi, my name is Louis Leterrier and I am the director of Dark Crystal, Age of Resistance.
I'm Lisa Henson. I'm the executive producer of Age of Resistance.
And we're going to do a one-seat breakdown of the carriage chase in episode 5.
Thank you! It's good to see you, Rianne. No!
We've been wanting to go back to the world of the Dark Crystal for many years. It's been so important to me to kind of get back to this really rich fantasy world that my father created with Frank Oz and with Brian Froud. They created a world that was bigger than ever made it into that film. So we just thought there were more stories to tell and a broader canvas to see. And it's just been it's been a big passion project for me.
All these shots, actually, I went on internet and found all these shots, 4K drone shots, and we just purchased them. So, there's a lot of people that just shot stuff on drones, and we just added the carriage, 3 suns in the sky, but all these shots, every single one of our aerial shot is amateur shot found on internet, and then we purchased them, and then people are like, I see reactions like, oh my god, I remember shooting this thing and now it's on Thra. So people are really excited about the idea of being part of Dark Crystal.
All Gelfling are in danger. Rian must confess to murder of Mira. Stand with Skeksis and silence whispers of rebellion.
The Chamberlain, he's a well-known character from the original movie, and he was a sneaky, traitorous, kind of Machiavellian character. So he's captured Rian and is planning to take him back to the castle, make him falsely confess to a murder. And of course, Rian doesn't want to participate in that.
We're not your pets.
False. You live only a few times. The choice is pets or enemies. Choose wisely.
You can see Rian slowly being worn down by Chamberlain, who uses every technique just to get the truth out of him.
What's that?
Gravity is gravity. So you can't, puppet hair, if the hair goes down, you cannot reverse it. So you have actually to puppeteer upside down. So we built a platform where our puppeteer was laying on for hours at a time. He's very uncomfortable with his arm upside down. So you have to imagine all the blood is sort of like going down.
Gurgen is a remarkably heavy puppet.
Yeah, that's actually on stage. This is a green screen behind, or blue screen, and we just added the background. But everything in this picture is real.
Hey, Rianne! Liar!
Time to go!
So long!
Every insert is the most complicated shot of the show because puppets really can't grab anything or pick up or drop or do anything. So it would be a waste of time to have our massive crew shoot that. So we had a little cleanup unit that we called the shadow unit, which followed us, and we just said, all right, I just need the 2 hands to grab each other, and that will take you half of the day to shoot that stuff. Inserts are so important because they really are indicating all the details, and I think especially in very detailed action sequences when there's a lot of stuff happening, first of all, it's good to take your time and see what the people are doing, but also it helps change the size of the shots because you don't want to do just massive wide shots all the time. It gets boring, and it's nice to just go a little tighter, go a little punchier, and go for just the macro stuff. It makes it a little bit more dynamic and more exciting. Obviously, puppets, no legs. Here, he has legs. So what we had a stun Rian, which was a head-to-toe Rian, to do all these wide shots of him, because I didn't want to go CG for this, because I wanted to make keep it as real as possible. So for all these shots where you see his legs, it's all real puppets. We just erased possibly a puppeteer or a cable or a rod just to make it work much smoother. What's completely different from the original movie is the use of CG to accentuate some features of our puppets. The tongues on the Skeksis. That's something that actually I wanted.
You dreamed of it.
I dreamed of it.
We said we'll give you 5 shots, and then
exactly.
we did, several hundred.
Yeah, several hundred. So
this is the kind of shot it was designed for sure.
No,
you're
completely,
looking,
exactly.
looking
That's
right
the typical,
in the mouth.
That's the typical shot. Obviously, the tongue is CG, but you have to redesign, you have to recreate the entire mouth CG in order to put the tongue in. So there's some spittle sometime, and then the tongue that actually is very funny, and everything else is everything else is absolutely real. I think one of the things that make action sequences great is when they're shot dirty. You know, I love having stuff hit the lens, whether it's debris or light. It makes all the effects tied together, so the depth of field is a bit more real, everything is more real. So you'll see lots of specks of dirt, stuff hitting the lens, being pushed, smudging the lens.
At you, Gurgin.
What you have to understand is that you have your puppeteer basically in green, right here, and inside the mouth, the head and the mouth of this puppet. That was Dave Chapman playing Gurgin. He's actually right here, looking at a monitor of frame, and he's dressed in green with a green hoodie. It's extremely hot. The other guys were hiding, and that blade is actually CG. That's a good example of how we erase the puppeteers. Using digital technology to put stuff together, but all these lens flares were flares that we shot against a black background on our lenses, and we added onto our picture.
On a sequence like this, we were using so many assistant puppeteers. I think I've concluded that we used pretty much every puppeteer in England, at least for a couple days. I don't think anybody's ever tried to do action like this with puppets. This was all you.
And I know why.
Are you hurt?
No, we're fine.
Well, the typical sort of like long lens rack focusing from one character to the next, and actually it's quite a big distance, so it's like a big rack focus just to go from one to the next, and that's a long lens. I think it was like 300 millimeter, maybe with a doubler, so that's 600 in anamorphic. So flares, long lensing, just adding some bumps, camera bumps, just adds a lot of life and dynamism.
Unhook the armorlings! They'll carry us to safety!
Good plan.
There's something I love about this shot is actually the sound. Tim Nielsen from Skywalker Sound, who's our sound designer, sound mixer, added this sort of like, like train track kind of like.
Yeah.
And it's funny, it's like a train sound, and I love it. Rian's plan is to unhook the wheels, because the wheels are sentient creatures called the armorlings, and we fell in love with them and then designed this.
But they're
action
really
sequence.
big. They are the only creature that we don't have a puppet of it. So when people are watching and they think, oh, the armorlings might be CG, they actually are CG in every shot because of the scale of them.
Get him, please. No! Come back, get him!
But also Louis was, he was operating Steadicam, so he was personally responsible for framing out the puppeteer's head. You had to think about that while you were shooting and directing.
Yeah, but then ultimately we all work together, because one thing that's different with an actor will never see a video monitor of their performance. A puppeteer always checks their performance and the picture, so they can always control the image and work for the camera and work with the camera. So it's like a nice dance. We always dance around each other, and that's actually something that we added to what puppet movies and puppet shows had done before. It's like a lot of camera movements were shaky and bumpy and kind of like loose, like I just did. Like it's just like I actually was hitting my camera, and I was asking people to hit me as I was operating, because that's the way you would. I've shot a lot of car chases. You get bumped around and you have a hard time operating. That's what I wanted, because what you have to understand, we were on a green screen stage. Nothing was moving. It was pretty simple, and we went shot by shot around the carriage, doing sequence by sequence.
I love watching the grip hold on to you
Oh,
while
yeah,
you were
yeah.
working,
The dance.
because we were always shooting on platforms, and Louis was up on the platform doing the Steadicam, and he had to be held sometimes just to make sure he didn't fall off the platform.
Not good, not good.
Join the guard, they said. Nothing ever goes wrong with a castle, they say.
So everything is anchored around Chamberlain in his position, but really it's like a mix between Rian's position and Chamberlain's position. So if Rian's on the left of the carriage, moving right to left, and if Rian then moves to the other side of the carriage, moving left to right. Nothing is a machine.
Very few straight lines
No
and
straight line,
right
yeah.
angles. Like I don't think we have a single right angle.
Exactly.
In the
So
whole thing.
everything is made by hand, even in the Skeksis world, and everything is a dead creature. So it's a little bit of a creature. So it looks like a little head, dinosaur head at the front, and that could have been repurposed Frankenstein carcass of an animal that they add plasma to, and it then becomes a machine. Nothing is something that they build. This was real, This is like somebody actually was Ollie Taylor was the feet on that shot, and it was very good.
I love that you can remember exactly who was doing the foot.
Because everybody has like a specialty. Everybody's very skilled at something. Everybody's like, he had a great aim.
This in dailies, and it was just him surrounded by green.
Yeah.
I found it very emotional,
Yeah,
even
yeah.
with like not the background filled in. I was like,
yeah.
he was looking and he was free.
The detail of these puppets. At first, I was actually mindful of not shooting the puppets too closely, or in extreme close-up, or in extreme lighting, or in slow-mo and everything. And then the more I shot them, I realized that they were absolutely stunning, and we went tighter and tighter and tighter, and closer and closer and closer. Their eyes are so expressive. I mean, that's the thing. That's the beauty of the Henson puppets. Everything, you can just shoot them, and you have something amazing all the time. Chamberlain inside the washing machine. That's me with a handheld camera, rotating the camera. Basically, it's sort of like I have one grip.
This?
Yeah, exactly. So I have my camera and I'm rotating it, like I'm like juggling it, and then Rory does, whoa, and it looks cool. It's just like the dirtier you shoot the stuff, the better it is. That's what I learned when doing all my action movies. It's just basically if somebody goes down a hill, just throw the camera with them. You'll get something good out of it. The plate is real. They're all real. The camera movement is real. The only thing that's not real are the arm legs, and then some of the debris. But
This is a pretty incredible shot to think this was done real.
They were static. The camera was moving, and Rian on this thing was on a almost big dolly train track, a long train track. Yeah, we were tracking with him on his train track, with people pushing him and puppeteers on top of the train track. We use a lot of that stuff. It's kind of like sometimes you can move the stool to the piano, and sometimes you have to move the piano to the stool.
That was fun!
I wanted that moment of celebration. I wanted them to sort of like look at each other and be like, holy crap, we did it. Like, it's the first time. You have to understand, the Gelfling, they're not fighting people. They've never done this sort of like big fights, especially these three.
Well, the whole series is really about the Gelfling coming together and kind of swallowing their differences and actually working as a team. And this scene is the one where they're most literally like coming together as a team, and they couldn't do it without each other.